So what is digital? I hear a lot of people talking about digital, but what do they mean when they say digital? I've been working in the digital industry for the last 36 years. My name is Billy Schofield, and I'm going to share with you some of the things I found out about digital. So thank you for attending this talk tonight, and thank you to Mandy and Chris for inviting me to speak to you tonight. So what does digital mean to people online tonight? When they hear the word digital, what do they think about?
Maybe online.
Online,
Not paper.
not paper,
Yeah, on a computer.
on a computer,
All things technology.
all things technology. Now, they're all great answers. So what I'm going to share with you is 4 truths about digital. And the first truth about digital is our fingers and toes, our digits, the first counting system, the first computing system. How many animals are we hunting today? 2. How many? 2. Our first mobile computing system. The second truth about digital is digits are numbers. The numbers that we write down, the symbols that we use to form those digits on our fingers, those numbers are digital. The third truth about digital is mathematics. Mathematics, a special type of mathematics called Boolean algebra. All computers today work off a form of algebra called Boolean algebra. It's the algebra of ones and zeros. You can see behind me, these ones and zeros. Boolean algebra was founded in 1859 by George Boole here in Ireland in County Cork. In 1864, George was on his way to give a presentation on his new algebraic form. He left his house in the morning. It was November 1864, County Cork. Lashing of rain, freezing cold. Gets to the train station, no train. So George then has to walk the 3 miles into University Cork. He gets there, soaking wet, freezing cold. He lectures and presents for the whole day in his wet clothes. That evening, George leaves to go home. George walks the 3 miles home, arrives home, soaking wet, feeling very ill. George goes to bed. Now, his wife decides to help him. So she soaks sheets in cold water and wraps him in these soaked sheets, cold water. George gets pneumonia and dies 9 days later. Back in those days, people thought you could treat problems, treat ailments with the cause. So his cause was cold and wet. So she tried to treat him with cold and wet. And that had resulted in his pneumonia. So the greatest mathematician of his time, the man that gave us the mathematics of modern day computing, dies 1864. The fourth truth of digital is that digital is transistors. In the 1970s, the digital transformation began. And there we start seeing integrated circuits being used in manufacturing and in our homes to produce sophisticated control systems. And that was driven by changes in a special material called semiconductors. Now, the digital age arrived in the Schofield household in 1983, when I got my first Atari 800 XL computer. Now, the laptop I'm talking to you today on is a Intel i7 microprocessor. The microprocessor is the brains of the computer. It has over 3 billion transistors in it. And a transistor is just a switch. It has 2 states, off or on, 1 or 0. It's producing the ones and zeros that allow us to apply Boolean algebra to do the computing. All computing systems today depend on this. Now, my Atari back in 83 only had 10,000 transistors on it, and a high-end, state-of-the-art Apple PC. You'd have to be loaded to own one, like Chris probably. He probably has one. it has 10 billion transistors on it. So from 1980, we've went from 10,000 transistors to today, 10 billion transistors. So the 4 truths of digital are: the first truth is digital is our fingers and toes. Digital is numbers that we write down. The third truth of digital is a form of mathematics, Boolean algebra, which all computers depend on today. And the fourth truth of digital is transistors. Transistors which allow these ones and zeros to be generated and allow us to apply Boolean algebra to create the computing world that we live in today. So I'll conclude on some thoughts from University College Cork, who said that George Boole laid the fundamentals of the information age in 1859 when he introduced Boolean algebra to the world.